The Killing of Satan is a movie that lives up to its title. That's exactly what it's about. A man with a classy black mustache named Landau, not to be confused with Landau Calrissian, who's on a mission to hunt down Satan and rescue his daughter. Landau isn't the only one who's a snappy dresser. There's also the Prince of Magic, who wears a skin-tight fire engine red devil costume. So our hero, Landau, is traveling to go see his uncle, who's suffering from a bad case of head spinophobia. Landau is shot in the head and killed, but his uncle has magical powers and sacrifices his own life to let Landau live. When Landau wakes up from his head injury, he decides to visit his uncle, not knowing what's happened. When he gets to the island, he asks the kid where his uncle's house is, but the child is a mute, so he has to follow him. Suddenly, there's a large volcanic eruption, rocks tumble down from the mountainside, and they all take cover, except for the kid, who may or may not have been crushed by these rocks.
You think he might be buried under those rocks?
They don't even bother to look for him. Gee whiz, guess he's dead. Oh well. So they make it to his Uncle Miguel's hometown, where one of the villagers informs Landau that his Uncle Miguel has died.
He's dead.
And also that his uncle had great magical powers. They tell him that his uncle's funeral was at sea, so Landau sails out to pay his final respects. But then a corpse jumps out of the water and scares the shit out of him.
I'm your Uncle Miguel.
Ah, so that corpse is his Uncle Miguel? Wait a minute here. Okay, so far Landau was shot in the head, and his old uncle, who has magic powers, sacrifices his own life to bring Landau back from the dead. And now, when Landau goes to pay his respects, the uncle tries to kill him? What sense does that make? Why would his uncle attack him after giving his life for him? Anyway, meanwhile back at the village, the Satanists are running amok. They use their magical powers to kill the poor townspeople. They slap around women and punch them in the face. Damn! I can't think of many other occasions where you see a man punching a woman in the face. Well, there's always this one. Leave it to Captain Kirk. Anyway, then there's a strange duel of the minds. A villager and a Satanist have a cross-eyed staring contest. Landau comes to their aid, but he's quickly brushed off by their wind magic that blows him away. Then they start firing shots at him, but Landau retaliates with his Psycho Wave. That's the only thing I can think to call it, because it reminds me of Dr. Jekyll's magic on the front cover of the NES game. Only difference, Landau's comes out as Elbow. The Satanists succeed in kidnapping a girl, so Landau and his sidekick Renzo go to save her. Landau and Renzo, huh? Reminds me of Billy and Jimmy. As they enter the evil Satanist domain, they're attacked by a venomous snake, but Landau makes short work of it by punching it in the face and then tying it in a knot. What a man. I like how he just tosses it aside like an empty beer can afterwards.
Prince of Magic! Release my daughter!
Uh-oh, now it's on. The Prince of Magic appears and turns Landau into a human tornado. Yahahaha. Oh god. Then his henchmen throw him off a cliff. Well, that certainly didn't go well. Boom! Renzo is still in the cave trying to rescue this girl Louisa when he is attacked by a Satanist. Renzo wins the battle and rescues Louisa, but then she rips off his face! Renzo, you poor fool, it was all a trap. Then they stare intensely at each other for a good minute. And then finally, after their intense stare down, her chest explodes! Well, so far our heroes have had their faces torn off, failed to save the girl, and got thrown off a cliff. This is going really well. We cut back to Landau, who's floating down the river, and the mute boy from earlier discovers him. Then he's taken to a church, and he's given an incredible weapon by God himself to fight the forces of evil. It's a stick. Not a sword or a gun or anything even remotely impressive. Just a plain old stick. Thanks, God. So according to this movie, this old man is God, and that mute child is his son. That would make this kid Jesus. I never would have imagined Jesus would be harder to understand than Donald Duck. And you know what? The Prince of Magic isn't the only one Lando's gonna have to face.
Satan.
That's right, of course, he's gonna have to face Satan himself. A really stereotypical looking Satan, but Satan nonetheless. So now Landau has to find his evil lair. Along the way, he fights off many evildoers. Zap! Zap! Ooh! Oh! Look at this macho son of a bitch go! He's like the Filipino version of Charles Bronson. Boom! Boom! But before Lando can face Satan, he has to defeat the Prince of Magic. He's like a mini-boss before the main boss. This whole thing really is like a plot to an NES game. And then the prince splits into an army of bodyguards. They all shoot laser beams at Lando, but Lando gets back up and takes them all down one by one. Yeah, go Lando, go, you crazy mustache bastard fuck. This is fucking crazy. Look at this. Oh no, looks like Mr. Red Spandex can't handle the force of Lando's bushy mustache. Finally, Lando finds a red rock, which marks the entrance to Satan's hideout. This is what we've all been waiting for. Here it comes, the big battle. The power of God versus Satan. An epic confrontation that man has waited for since the dawn of time. Eloquent words of wisdom are about to be exchanged.
Satan! Come out here!
Or maybe not. Lando goes on this long speech about how he's only mortal and doesn't have powers like Satan does. And then they decide to fight, and the first thing Lando does is shoot a green energy beam at Satan. Sure, because, you know, we can all do that. Satan shoots lightning bolts and beams of energy and all kinds of shit. Now we're talking. Behold the power of stereotypical Satan. But then Lando gets a hold of his mighty stick, and that's the end of Satan. You know, if you're looking for some entertainment where a guy goes on a quest to save a girl, acquires all sorts of magical abilities, and has to face off against an evil demon, I'd say you're better off spending your time with The Legend of Zelda. As for this movie, it can go straight to hell.